Morning, everybody, and welcome to Hometown Cable. Our program is called What's Going On Here. My name, Bob Venn, Calvin Castine with the camera. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done anything. I've had company in from Texas and Syracuse, and now we're back, and we don't have much ahead anymore. And we looked for the busiest place in the northern tier, and would you believe it's in an ice rink in Rouse's Point, New York, and that's where we are, and there's no ice. But there is a man named Mike O'Brien. Good morning, Mike O'Brien.
Good morning, Bob.
Mike, what's your title here?
Civic Center Manager.
All right, and this is called the Civic Center. I often refer to it as the Rec Center. Is that all right with you, though?
Yeah, well, they changed it to make it the Civic Center when it went from being just a hockey rink to like having the boardroom here, having it for WIC is here today. Courts held here.
The
senior citizens on Tuesday mornings. Elections are held here, so it's more than just a hockey rink now.
Okay, so you're in charge of all the building complex itself?
The whole complex.
How many people work here?
Just two full-timers, and during the winter I have two full-timers, Mike Lemieux and John Bernard, and during the fall I have two part-timers that work 20 hours a week.
Is it safe to say you're a working director?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, there's lots of action. Before we get into the rec center itself, the O'Briens have been around the Rouse's Point area for quite a while. Your mom, I know, was a McCollum.
Yeah.
And they're both all good athletes.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. We'll talk about you a little bit. But tell us about your parents, first of all.
My dad worked for the village for 39 years. He was he died in 1985, and he worked right up to that point. He was the superintendent for the village for the last 23 years. My Uncle Chuck used to work for the village. He worked here for over 20 years. So
you got a tradition here.
Between Dad and myself, we've had over 50 years continuous service for the
village. And your dad's
name?
Let's mention his name.
Al O'Brien.
Al O'Brien, yes. And your mom?
Jackie.
Jackie, and of course one of the McCollums. There was Neil, Bob.
Yeah, Bob, Leo.
And Leo.
And Faye.
And Faye, all ball players in the area. I played ball with all these people. Were they brought up in this area? The O'Briens from this area?
Originally, they were from, I think it's around the Altona area. So, there's O'Brien's Corners up there.
Yeah.
That's where my grandfather had a farm. And then they moved down here. I don't know if it was in the 40s or I think it was in the 40s, somewhere like that. My grandfather went to work for Arist. And then Dad was working at Arist back then. And I don't know, he was only making about $1 something an hour at the time. And then they offered him to come to the village for a little bit more money. And that's where he came.
Right. He's a fixture in the area.
Yeah.
Miss him, and of course your Uncle Bob and Leo and Neil. They were all a part of our ball teams back when we had town team, softball around.
Sports and
You want to believe it. You want to believe it. Mike, when you went to school here at NCCS or CCS?
NCCS.
NCCS.
Graduated in '76. 20-year class reunion this year.
That's right. There's also a 25, I understand. I got a call the other night from Maxine Greenberg from California, and she informed me she's coming in town, and she was with our reunion a couple of years ago. So, all right, now, getting back to you, what did you do right after you got out of school?
I worked a few years at Polite, 3 or 4 years. Then I moved to Saranac Lake, and I worked up there, bartended. I worked at the Lake Placid Club. I bartended at 4 or 5 different bars up there. Basically, I bartended, too, after Polite for 3 or 4 years and stuff.
Okay.
And I come to work for the village in 1985. So I've been working 11 years now.
And you got to the rec center when?
2 years ago, this coming October.
Right.
I worked in the water plant for 9 years.
Okay. Now, some of the questions, if you don't know these, just tell me you don't. Do you know what year this was put up?
I believe it was in 78 or 79.
Okay. And when they put it up, the equipment, most of it, as you know, we've done a story with several of the people. The hockey equipment itself, the ice equipment rather, came from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, yeah.
And it was put into sand because cement was too much.
Yeah.
At the time, they could have put cement in for $50,000, I remember at the time.
And now the project's going to be $379,000 without the new compressors. Now they're talking about going with new compressors too.
Well, you're talking everything new. We were just talking cement at the time, There was speculation about a restaurant up in the back up there at one time, And maybe that could come about now when you get into
That's what we'd really like to do. We've got a nice area up there and stuff, and it would be nice to have a warm room or something, especially for Calvin when he comes and films the hockey games and stuff.
There is a little booth up there. That's probably mainly for him up there now.
Yeah, I think it was built for Calvin. I think Ernie did that a few years ago.
The last year that the last time I saw him up in there was the ice show you had locally. Very nice show here in the community. It was pretty well filled too.
Yeah, it was filled. I think we can seat like 800 to 900 people in here, and just on the bleachers.
Okay, what happened to the heaters that used to be up overhead?
There's still one there, and that's the only one we had, but it runs on propane and stuff down there.
Okay.
And it just wasn't very efficient.
Okay.
It just ate the propane up, and then actually it only could heat about 6-8 people that were directly underneath there,
Okay.
and it wasn't cost efficient.
Yeah, right. Now, is there any plans not to insulate as well?
They are talking about that, at least.
That's not part of this project.
Well, depending on how far the money will go.
Okay.
You know, I mean, they've allotted the borough $500,000. The
Okay.
project is $379,000, and we hired an engineer to be like to cover our side of it here while things are going on, and that I think is $8,500. So we've got $100,000 more, but we're going to go out to bid now for the compressors and stuff. So we'll have to wait and see how much money's left over when we get done that.
Okay, there was problems here during the late or early spring with some leakage.
Yeah, we had 3 major leaks last fall. We had one on a Sunday morning. I come in about 7 o'clock, and it was right about where Alan is up there now, and up where it was coming right up through the ice.
It comes right through the ice, huh?
That's the first leak in 17 years that they've had that we've actually had a leak underneath the ice. So I was here by myself. I ran and I got Mike Lemieux. It was his day off. I said, Mike, you got to come help me. I said, we got a leak underneath the ice. So by the time we got that repaired that day, it happened to be on a Sunday. Our busiest Saturday and Sunday are our busiest days. And by the time we got it fixed, and we lost the whole day revenue. We lost $1,000 just that one day. And then we had another leak in the pit over here when all the pipes were in, when the headers were in, and we got to that pretty quick. Luckily we found that one, and that got fixed. And then around March 8th or 9th, we had a leak where our brine tank was going down and we couldn't find it. So we knew it was under the cement. In front of the Zamboni doors are over here. So DEC told us I called them to inform them, even though it was non-toxic antifreeze, you still got to let them know, that you got a problem. So they told me since it's the end of the season, we only had about a week left to close her down and drain the system.
Again, that affects your revenue.
Oh yeah, I lost because I had a tournament that I had to cancel that last weekend, so I ended up losing another $3,000-4,000 that last 10 days.
But the Civic Center has more or less paid for itself and paid all expenses with the revenue?
Well, I would say majority of it, I'm not that with the,
Well,
I know
let's
since
say
I've been
close,
here.
right?
Yes. Oh yeah, the last couple of years that I have been here, we've made a profit.
Right. Great asset to the community. Hometown Cable is a great asset to the community. We're going to take a break, come right back. Stay tuned to Hometown Cable. Well, Calvin wanted to know if this is your new Zamboni.
Yeah.
This is a new
It's
Zamboni?
Murnane Zamboni.
Murnane Zamboni, huh? Got a new driver, too. That's Alan. You said he is in charge of the
He's
job
in charge
here?
of the Murnane's part of it and stuff. He's the foreman.
All right. Mike, we were talking a little bit off camera there, and it just dawned on me that when we talk about the Civic Center, you're not only talking inside.
No, you're talking
That whole field around here, all the
17
ball
acres.
fields and so forth.
We have 2 ball fields, tennis courts, the playground. We got a new playground, a piece of equipment that just come in, $10,000. It's 27 by 37. It holds 12 to 22 kids at a time. And it looks like you're going to have to be an engineer probably to get it together.
What are you doing it? What is it?
It's got 2 slides. It's got the little cubicles you can crawl through. It's got a swing thing on it.
You got to put that up.
We got to put that up. It says in the instructions you need 4 to 6 men, but there's only myself and the 2 full-time employees.
Well,
so
you could get volunteers for that. Yeah, I think in town, if they could, under direction, I'd be very pleased to help. It's for the kids.
Yeah. We probably could and stuff, but I think we're going to try to do it ourselves when because we have to look at it. What's going to come out. It's not going to be a one-day project, even if you had all the volunteers help. So I mean, we can't put all the put it all out there one day. We have to. There's 10 poles that have to be cemented in, and then it's got to be built up from there and stuff. So you're talking quite a project.
Now tell me, do you schedule the games, or is that the youth commission or whatever?
Youth commission schedules all the ball games.
Okay,
Linda Fredette handles
so
that.
you don't have to worry about whether the field is available or not available.
That's
all. Okay.
Yeah, the
Just that it's in good
tennis
shape.
courts and stuff, like they go through me and stuff, but basically it's been year after year where, Eris uses it, the high school uses it all summer. Eris has got a tournament in August, the tennis courts, but we try to coincide so there's no conflicts or nothing and stuff. So.
All right, we're back to after you had the leak, it was pretty well decided. I remember reading in the paper, something's got to be done.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us a little synopsis of what happened since
Well,
that point?
we had a committee and stuff. There was Mayor Tom Batha, there was Brian Jefferson, Mike Casey, Rick Hunter, Ken Duffy, Jules Tran, Dale Changelo, and myself. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out. Mike Lemieux sat in. Mike works for me. Mike's been here for 17 years, so Mike really knows the operation from the ground up, because he's been here and seen everything. So then we decided, it started out where we were just going to go with the floor and see, and then piecemeal it a little bit. But then as it went along, it kept growing and gradually growing, and a couple trustees come in, and 2 new trustees come in and stuff, and everything was decided that hopefully we might as well go for the cement floor and do what we can, instead of piecemealing it, because it's been 17 years to get to this point and stuff, that the floor was supposed to go in sometime over that 17 years, and here it is today, and we're finally getting it. So.
But let's be fair now, over the years, it hasn't cost the village taxpayers very much money to have this rec center
here.
No, it
hasn't. It's been basically self-sustaining.
Right.
And that's including our salaries,
okay,
too, for the 6 months.
Right. Now, it's hoped that this will continue, but if it doesn't, this is an asset to your community.
I think it's a quality of life issue for the village of Rouse's, not just for the village of Rouse's Point, for the whole county.
Absolutely.
We got WIC up here today. There's, and it's going to open it up for a lot more things, because St. Mary's is having a class reunion this year, right? There were 700 people and stuff, and I was approached. They wanted it at St. Mary's, but if the building would have been available, this might have been a place to hold a big reunion like that.
Yeah, it would be great, yes.
So.
All right, so then it was decided that you're going to go the whole ball game.
The whole thing, yeah.
But previous to this, you had a Zamboni problem. You had to buy a new Zamboni.
A year ago, the board was very generous, and we got a brand new Zamboni.
And those are over $1,000.
It was $50,000, but
$50,000.
And Zamboni give us, for our 1971 Zamboni, give us $8,000 for our old one, and it was 25 years old. So I think we got our money's worth out of that.
One of the first new equipments you bought, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Everything else has been used.
Everything's been used. That was the first step. So going into this year, it should be. Hopefully there should be no problems and stuff. Everything should be new. If the compressors are going out to bid, I think next week for the compressors. So the cement work is guaranteed for 2 years. The refrigeration is guaranteed for a year. So hopefully
that scares me. What do you mean guaranteed for a year with refrigeration?
Wow.
God, the last one was 17.
Last 17 years, but they won't guarantee it for 17 years. I mean, it's like anything else. So, but they guarantee at least for the first year and stuff. And
my first question would be, if you get a leak in cement, what do? You can't melt it like it is with ice.
You got to jackhammer it.
You do.
Yeah.
They don't put a tube where you could put the other tube in and remove it. Nothing like that.
It's all cemented. The cement is to be poured right around the pipes and stuff.
Wow.
But I think the Crete, now I talked to Alan, and Hogan Refrigeration is the lead contractor on this, Wayne Bedard.
For the whole job?
For the whole job, Hogan Refrigeration out of Peru. And I think now, since the Crete has been in, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think this is what was told to me, that they've only had like 2 leaks. So I don't know how old the Crete is, must be going on 15 to 20 years old, right?
All of that.
And they've had 2 leaks.
More than that, I think.
So, I mean, if we can go 15 to 20 years here and only have a leak or something, and I guess it'll show up through the cement. So basically you know where it is, I mean, it'll make its way to the surface with this deal. So then we'll at least know where it was. Like last year, you're just guessing and stuff. So hopefully we won't have no problems. The pipe's a heavier gauge pipe than it used to be. So the wall thickness is thicker, and the materials are better
Okay. Now, when a person builds a house, all he has to do is say, well, here's where I want my house, and they start digging a hole, and then they start building. But if you're going to build a big house and you've already got houses there's a lot more work. You had to clear all this out.
Yeah. On a Tuesday morning, the board meeting was on a Monday night. I think it was May 20th, and they approved the project. So we had from Tuesday the 24th, we had 8 working days to go completely take this whole rink apart, remove all the 10 miles of pipe in here, all the dasher boards, all the cement that was around thing, and there was only like 5 or 6 of us, and we took it out. We had it done in 8 days, and we had to bring this down 16 inches out of here.
The dirt.
We had to take all the sand.
All
we
the
had
sand
to take
out?
16 inches down.
Of sand out.
Sand.
Well, you
and the
improved your
insulation.
village pile somewhere.
Now, because it was always a lot of insulation and stuff in the material and stuff.
Now,
and,
was this pipe fastened together in different places?
and quite a few of them were. Over the years, they had tried to, the ones that were spliced together, they've Ernie and them, they've tried to eliminate them. But there was still quite a few of them that had, collars on them and stuff. And
All right, well, you did a great job in that short period of time, and if it was raining outside, so you had to be able to work inside.
yeah, and I got some of the village crews, like, there's the three of us, but then we got some of the street crew, and one day the electrical crew worked down here the whole day and stuff, so, but we got it done.
Okay, so now it's all cleared out. You've gone down 16 inches. That is not for your for the fluid.
That's just going to be underneath everything. They're called French drains. They're, in case there's any water that, and if it's a wet spring or something where you do get groundwater and stuff, that there'll be, it might not, it probably will never be used, because look, you look at the material now and you look how wet we've been this spring, and it's not wet in here. But it's just a precaution.
And they run the whole length on two of them.
Two of them, yeah. And
they would just run underneath.
And then, and they'll tie in, like down here, they'll come to a loop, and then they'll go into the pit.
Okay. All right. Now, what's the next job now? Well, first of all, I had to put all the batter board around. You did all that?
No.
Or was that part of the contract?
No, now as far as the village work's done, we're done with it now. Everything is contract.
You mentioned Hogan Refrigeration in Peru, whom I know, Mike Hogan, that one of the sons.
He was
a soccer coach. I'm sorry, wrestling coach in Saranac, and also married one of my second cousins, who's a teacher in our school system.
I didn't know that.
Julie Van Hogan, that's who it is. And they got a great little son that's going to be a big wrestler later on. Okay, so now they then hire subcontractors, you said?
Yeah, Hogan subcontracted to Murnane when the original bids went in, and Murnane's actually going to do all the cement work, the sand work. There's subfloor heating that's going to go under here, but once the sand, there's 8 inches of sand that's going to come under here next, I think is the next move up. And then there's going to be pipes in there. That's like your subfloor heating.
What do you mean by that? Why would that be?
So the frost won't affect your cement slab. So,
I see. So there is heat down there.
There will be heat. There'll be a sensor in the thing, like if the frost starts moving up towards your slab, where it runs off the compressors and stuff. It's just another precaution that your slab don't move and stuff, because you don't want your slab.
It's not on all the time. When you want it,
yeah, there'll be a sensor to tell us and stuff that'll go into the compressor room and stuff.
I'll bet none of you out there ever thought of that. I know I didn't. Never had any idea you'd put a heater in under the ice, because I want the heater above the ice. Will help me warm when I'm in here.
The pipes are 18 inches apart, like through your thing.
Through the cement.
So the whole cement is covered. It won't be like just 2 pipes, but the underfloor heating is 18 inches apart.
How big is the pipe? Any idea how big the pipe is?
I think it's 1.5 inches.
Wow, a lot of fluid in there.
Yeah.
A lot of refrigerant. Yeah. Okay.
So this year they've always had glycol or antifreeze here, and now it's just salt water underneath. That's what you're going to be your refrigerant. So even if you have a leak in the near future, it's not going to be you won't be calling DEC or anything like that, because it's salt water.
Okay. Now, when would so that you've kind of give us an idea what's going to happen as it goes. When do you expect the cement to be being laid down?
Tomorrow they're pouring all the, like where the boards are, or where the players' benches are, and your curtain around the rink. This stuff is going to be poured tomorrow and Thursday.
All right. The seats are already in cement over there. That's no
staying.
Change. Okay.
The existing slab of cement is staying there too.
All right, and then the floor itself, you got to do a lot of work yet. You got to put all the pipes.
All the pipes. You got to bring in. You got your insulation. You got your re-rod and stuff that actually goes in. So they're not looking to get the main floor poured until at least the end of July, I would think.
Okay. And as you know, this is only the 11th of June, so we're not going to be here straight through for that, but we're going to come back several times to keep you posted. We expect you to be seeing all this at one time. And talking about time, we're going to take a short break, because it's time for good news from one of your friends and neighbors. Don't very often get a chance to talk to a hard hat without wearing one ourselves, but right here we are this morning. And this man's name is?
Alan Corin.
How do you spell Corrin?
Corron.
I know from we talked off the camera here that's a Beekmantown name for
Yes,
sure,
it is.
huh?
Yes, it is.
And an old softball player. We did some
Yeah.
playing back and forth.
Yeah,
You
a while
remember-
ago.
You remember Mike's father? Or
Yes, I do.
You know,
Yep.
playing ball too. You know.
Well, I remember him from the village here.
From the village?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
working
maybe
from the
he was a little older than us, but I played with him and great softball back then. So how long have you been with Murnane?
33 years.
Oh, my. You're pretty experienced, and you're pretty...
I hope so.
So are you always a foreman in whatever jobs you go to?
Yes.
Pretty well?
I'm called project superintendent.
Project superintendent. And you got your training, you started right with Murnane?
Yes, I did.
Huh?
Yeah. The only company I've ever worked with.
Must be a good company.
Yes,
You're
they
happy
are.
anyway,
Yeah,
huh?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How wide of an area does Murnane cover?
We go all the way to Albany, over to Messina, Potsdam. We have an office in Syracuse and one in Utica.
Does that mean you may not be home every night?
That's correct.
It happens, huh? You have family out?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
How many children in your...
I have 2 daughters. They're grown up. They're in Texas. Both of them live in Texas.
Okay. So what is Murnane's part of this job? And Mike told us that you're under the Hogan Refrigeration. They got the general contractor.
Actually, Hogan's the general contractor. We're a subcontractor, Hogan Refrigeration, and
Okay.
we're going to do all the excavation and backfill and pouring the concrete, putting
Okay.
the rebar in, pouring the concrete, finishing the concrete.
When they talk about a subcontractor, we hear it, people out there here, and say, what do they mean by a subcontractor? What is a subcontractor? Basically?
Well, basically, you're a specialty. We're normally a general contractor. We have subs work for us. Usually, you're a specialty contractor, and you do sub work for a general contractor. You know, like a plumber or
Right.
electrician or
Right.
masonry.
Would you bid on a job like this and then get subs for you sometime?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That would happen, yes?
Yeah,
Huh?
definitely. I don't know how this came
Okay,
about.
surely.
We work with Hogan quite a
Okay.
bit. So.
How many people work for Murnane in general?
Oh, I really couldn't say
Say
that.
out of the
At
plastic
some time, we could have up 700-800.
Oh, that many?
Yeah.
You have the same people on a job when you go from job to job?
I try to keep a foreman with me.
Okay.
My foreman, Marty.
Okay. And how many do you have on this job?
Right now, there's only 3 of us. Today, there's 3. We had 5 yesterday. You know.
Okay.
it's-
When you say only, that gives me the impression you think you should have more.
No.
Usually there is,
It
like
depends
5.
on the size of the
And
job.
when you go from 3 to 5, that's a big increase, right? You know.
Yeah, it's the daily. You know,
Okay.
you may need a few more
Right.
when you're doing.
Well, this is very pretty stuff, but no one's going to see it. Why do you have pink stuff here, and what are you doing?
We're putting down styrofoam insulation. They're trying to isolate the pit because there's some water in there during the wintertime when the ice is on, and they're trying to stop it from freezing.
So this is the bottom. There's nothing under there that you want.
No, that's
except-
the bottom of the pit.
Okay.
That's a drainage.
So that's like a floor, so
That's
to speak,
correct.
all right?
We're going to pour 5 inches of concrete on top.
Okay. I see a green pipe. Is that going to stay there?
Yes, the village hooked in a drain from
All right.
their compressor room.
Okay. So will you be doing the things on top of that, or is that refrigeration and someone else is going to do
That's
that?
Hogan will be doing the refrigeration work. That's where his headers go, and all his pipes return to the compressors. From
Now, I heard a strange word when you mentioned some of the things you're going to do in your subcontract. One of them was a rebar. Now,
Yeah.
some people, I think I know what that means, but tell people what a rebar is.
Well, rebar is reinforcing iron that goes into concrete to help hold it together and strengthen it.
Okay, it's like a mesh, right? Big,
Right,
heavy, and a different. And because these walls and floors just don't suspend, many times in the garage you get a crack. And I have one in mine, and I found out we didn't have any reinforcing underneath it. And when it was patched, we put a replacement corner. They used a rebar. You know, they just used a mesh. And
Yeah,
that
it helps hold it together.
exactly. All right. How long do you think you'll be at this job, give or take?
We should be done sometime in July.
Okay. Do you know where you're going to be after July?
No, I don't.
You don't know. So
You never know in this
you
business.
don't know.
Right.
But you like that?
Yeah, it gives you a chance to meet a lot of different people and see a lot of different, areas where you're working in.
I'm going to ask you a different question now. Listen to this one. Now, be very careful. After 33 years, are you still learning?
Oh, you learn every day. in this
Even
business.
after 33
Oh, yeah,
years?
Any business, you
Huh?
learn every day. Sure. Something new every day.
Do you ever learn something you wish you'd have known 20 years ago?
Oh, definitely.
You do that, huh?
Like state school got an education, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Went to college,
You know,
right?
listen, even with all the education that people have, you go to college, it's on-the-job experience that is the big difference, right?
Especially in the construction trade.
Absolutely, right. Okay. What else can you tell me about what you're going to be doing? Now, are you going to lay the cement around the perimeter?
Yeah, we pour the perimeter first because it's supposed to be isolated from the rink itself, so the
Okay.
rink can move or
Right.
do whatever it wants to do. So we'll be doing some of that tomorrow and Thursday. Then we'll be getting into forming up the walls of the pit.
So then you're going to build a wall here,
We'll
right?
pour the
All
walls
right.
of the pit, and then we will start backfilling, bringing in some of the sand that goes down first.
I talked to Mike off camera as we were walking to this end about the cement that's going to be here. This will be all poured in one day?
Yes, it will. Yep.
One slab, no divisions?
No joints, no expansion.
How do you stop it from cracking?
Well, they have a 1.5 inch styrofoam insulation going around the sides, the perimeter, and that'll allow it to move back and forth.
That's what makes it crack? You're telling me you can't move, so that's what makes it...
Yeah, if it doesn't have a place to expand, concrete will expand and contract. If it doesn't have a place to expand, it'll crack. You
So
know,
before you lay your cement, the Hogans will be here
Yeah.
and doing something, laying
Right,
some
we
pipes.
will put down 8 inches of new sand, special sand that we're getting from Plattsburgh quarries. And then Hogan will be excavating for Hogan. He'll lay in his underground heat. There's some heat that goes in the floor.
That was
here.
mentioned to us, yes.
And then once he completes that, we'll re-level the floor, the sand, put 3 inches of styrofoam insulation.
On top of the heat.
Sand, yeah, right. Then Hogan Refrigeration, they've got all these chairs. They're a special chair that refrigeration piping hooks to. So we'll pretty much be out of the ball game there for a while while they're doing that.
Yeah.
And when they get done, we'll throw our top layer of mesh on, and then we'll be ready to pour.
We hope to come back and get some of this, even in a short portion, to show you what we're talking about, if time allows, and Calvin's a very busy person. The heat under, they tell me, will stop it from moving, and that will stop cracking,
Yeah, it'll
too.
stop the frost from penetrating.
So then it won't
it'll
move
help,
quite as much.
Yeah, right.
Does cement expand very
Oh,
much?
yeah, it expands and contracts depending on the weather. And,
Right. Now, when you say much, are we talking a little tiny width of a hair,
Oh,
or are
no,
we
it
talking
can-
width of a pencil?
Yeah, you're talking maybe half inch at times.
Is that
quarter of
right?
an inch, yeah, definitely. Depending on the frost.
and
the
then it
frost
goes
will
back,
work it.
back
It'll
and
go
forth.
back and forth, depending on the weather and the conditions.
Okay. And you have to provide for that. That's why when you put
The
a...
engineering firm is provided for that with their expansion around the edges.
You see, we put like a little patio next to our house, right up against the foundation, and the first thing we know, it's cracked. We should be allowing something there that lets it move.
Yeah, let it independent by itself. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not forcing against anything.
We never learned that in school, so we didn't do that, Alan. Listen, Alan, thank you. Anything else you think we should know about your portion of this job?
No, it's pretty basic, but, you know, it's going to be a good pour the day we do pour. That would be a good day to
Did you
come
ever
back.
do a rink before?
I haven't myself personally. Our company has done quite a few. We did Clarkson Arena in Potsdam, and we did the Crate Center in Plattsburgh.
But you didn't do it yourself.
Not
Do you
myself personally. I wasn't on that job.
Do you go home and look at the book at night and see what you should be doing?
No, I look at the drawings here, follow the specs.
So you also have to know a lot about drawings, obviously,
Sure,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Listen, Alan, it's a great pleasure. Good seeing you
Good
again.
seeing you again, Mr.
I thought we've had some good players, there's good ball players, and nice
yeah.
people in and around Beekmantown. Beekmantown is really stretches way out into.
Beavertail's kind of large. It's not very wide, but it's long. It goes from Lake Champlain all the way almost over into Dannemora. So
Okay.
It's a quite large town.
Who's your legislator?
Who's our legislator?
You know, up and out? We got a
Mr.
new
Giroux.
one. Giroux, that's right. Joe Giroux.
Joe Giroux.
One of the prominent farmers in the area. We're taking another break. We're going to get back to Mike. Thank you very much, Al.
Thank you.
Good luck on the job.
Thank you.
I meet a lot of people as I go around. People say hello to me that I don't know who you are sometimes because you see us on television. And I'm always pleased to meet the people. And if you like what we do, I'm always glad to hear you say it. Now, we were talking with Alan Caro, and he said, have you met Ron Kent. And I said, no, I don't. So he introduced me, and I've already forgot his name half here, but we won't. From Saranac, New York.
Right.
And you're not part of this job.
No.
As far as working.
As far as working.
What, would you work for Manane?
No, I'm the business representative for the Carpenters Local in Plattsburgh.
What
Carpenters USA.
does that mean, Ron?
I'm in charge of negotiating contracts and supplying men to contractors like Murnane, Kennedy, Trombley, any of the union contractors
Okay,
around.
so you work for the union?
For the union
Okay,
itself.
the union pays you for your time.
Right.
And the people who are contractors, employees that are looking for a job, come to you and
Come to
want
me
you to
for a
find them a
job.
job,
That's
right?
right, yeah.
Now, how long have you done this?
I've been in 4 years now.
All right, were you in construction before
Yeah,
that?
I was a carpenter. I've been a carpenter for 25 years.
It wasn't enough work, so you find out this way here you get the first
I
job.
got the
Huh?
first job, yeah.
What kind of training do you get for this?
We have organizing classes and courses that the International puts on, and other seminars and training classes put on by different divisions of our organization.
Okay. Calvin was saying a lot of our people don't understand, and I don't understand. So if I say something that offends you, please forgive me. I don't intend to in any way. I want to get into the Carpenters Union. I want to become a carpenter.
Right.
I've been fixing windows around town, and I want to become a carpenter. But they say you can't unless you belong to the union. Is that true? Can I work for Murnane, for instance, without being part of the union?
No.
Okay.
There's union contractors and there's non-union contractors.
All right.
As a union carpenter, you can only work for a union contractor.
All right.
If you were a non-union carpenter, you could work for non-union outfits, but
Okay.
you could not work for Murnane.
Okay, but I haven't been able to find enough work, Ron. So now what do I, the first thing I do is say I've joined the union.
Right.
I go to your office.
Yep, you come to my office and put in an application, and then, well, this year is a real bad year. We don't have much work, but then I would put you out on a job. Murnane would call for 4 carpenters, and I would send you out on that job.
Okay.
On the application, there's a determination as to what level you are.
All right.
If you're an apprentice, you could come in as an apprentice. We have a 4-year apprenticeship program.
Okay.
If you've had a lot of experience working for yourself, or maybe you're a house builder and you've worked out quite a bit, you may come in as a journeyman.
Okay.
And then that's a
All right.
carpenter.
Now do you give me a test of some kind to see what I know?
It's more of a reference check and to know what you know.
Okay.
You would give me references. I ask
Okay.
for references for other people that you've worked for, and then we have a determination. And most of the time, the first time out on the job, the contractor can tell me if
All
I've
right.
made the right decision.
So when I go to a job, the man that I'm going to don't know anything about me at all except on your word. So you're the one that are not guaranteeing, but saying what you think you know about me.
right.
And then I will prove it when I get there. Is that basically it?
That's basically it.
Okay.
A lot of it goes on schooling. We get kids out of BOCES that had experience in the carpenters classes there. Then they come into our apprenticeship program. Most of the time, that's the way we get them, is through the apprenticeship. We get some transfers from other locals in the state, other states. When work is real good, and there's a lot of it around, we have quite a few guys coming in.
So for me as a carpenter, and I join the union and I don't get any jobs, for me to come and become a full-time employee with Murnane is pretty well impossible.
It is.
I can't go to his office and say, would you hire me?
Well,
it's not going to happen very often.
It's not going to happen very often. It does happen sometimes, and just because you're a union member doesn't mean you can't go out and solicit.
I understand
your own
that,
job.
yes.
You can go out and solicit your own job with Murnane or any of these other union outfits. It's just very hard when a contractor doesn't know you.
Okay.
Once you've worked for a contractor, then you work for a different superintendent. This superintendent says, yeah, I had a good guy over here. Maybe he's not working, why don't you call him? And that's how you build your reputation.
But does he get a choice when he calls you in the morning, say, I need 4 people, send Bob Venn and any other 3? Or does he say, and then you have some kind of rules to follow?
Well, we have certain rules to follow. They can request a man if he's not available. If he is available, I mean.
Okay.
If he's unemployed and they know about it, they can request him specifically. If not, a lot of times they'll just call, I need 6 carpenters for tomorrow morning at such and such place. Then it's up to me to choose. And there's we don't have a hiring hall as such, where there's a list and you go from the top of the list down. That just doesn't work out too good. You have carpenters that are form carpenters, you have carpenters that are interior carpenters, and you don't want to put someone that's a sheetrocker out on forms. So we have lists within a list,
Okay.
I guess you would say.
Do people go to your office and just sit there and wait in case they might get a call?
No.
Like you've seen the movies? That don't happen.
No,
That don't happen like that?
That don't happen in the North Country.
Okay.
In the movies, it worked fine.
Yes.
Most of them, they check in at least once a week, with me, either
Right.
by phone call or stopping into the office. And then they're more or less waiting for me to get
Now-
in contact with them.
They say the greasy wheel gets the oil. Does it do a guy any good to call you every day instead of once a week? Is he going to get a job any quicker?
No.
So don't call him every day.
That's
Is
for
that all
sure.
right?
Because guys have tried it.
I'm sure.
After a while, you get a little bit tired of it, depending on their situation too.
Okay.
But,
Touchy question now. Do
very
they ever
touchy.
think that you might be partial to certain employees?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
There's that in every organization.
in anything, right? I don't say you are. I'm saying, but someone thinks that you might be, right?
Yeah.
For whatever. Maybe someone don't want them as often. Can they say, "I don't send Bob then to me"?
I've had contractors say
it's
that.
possible.
That they say, we've had a bad relationship with this guy or something, or he isn't working up to our standards. We don't want to.
Or he talks too much and keeps the other guys always occupied. Ron, I don't know anything else to ask you. Is there anything else you could tell me about your job and jobs about union or about carpenters that you think would be interesting to the people out there?
Well,
in general?
It's a real economic job is what it is, because when the economy is bad, of course, there's no construction. So that makes my job more difficult to find jobs for my union members. Everything goes in a cycle. Last 2 years, we had a lot of work. But this year, everything is real slow right now, and there's so many different factors that you have to figure into it. The state money, without the state budget, that's hurting the economy right now, not only with construction, but with everything else. And so all these factors, people, just see that there's no work going on. They wonder why. Well, you have a lot of factors that come into that. So
When they talk about a local, how local is your local? How wide of an area?
my local is from the Canadian border to Ticonderoga,
Oh, my.
and then I extend over to Long Lake and back up to the Indian Reservation.
How many people in your office?
Me and my secretary.
Wow.
And that's it.
You must be getting a lot of phone calls.
Well, an awful lot of phone calls. The answer machine is full.
Okay, now, what business what would you be doing at this job, for instance? Just a nice little ride up here, but
No.
you're not. You see if they need more help.
To see if they need more help.
Okay, that's part of your job.
Al, I'm the superintendent on the job. He had called for one man, and so I came up to make sure there was no problems.
Okay,
with
all right.
this
Well,
man,
that's a good reason.
and to see if if perhaps he did need an additional carpenter. You try to hit the jobs as often as you can to see if you can put another man on, or to talk with other contractors.
Right. Now, yours is carpentry. Is there one like you for plumbing? Is there
Yes,
a representative?
All the trades.
And each have
They
its.
have
Now, where's
their-
your office? Is it in a public building, or is that your home? Or
No, it's on 25 Elm Street,
okay.
Plattsburgh.
Oh, you don't have to tell me exactly. God, they'll all be in there to see you, huh?
That's what I want.
Okay, so that people who go to BOCES, you must see them a lot after they get out.
Yeah, and especially this time of year, they're graduating. We get quite a few people coming in and wanting applications and everything.
I think we're going to be in to see BOCES in early fall, right? And we're going to find out more about this, and your conversation will help me in bringing some of my questions, And
I hope it has helped.
well, where are you from originally?
From Morrisonville. originally.
You haven't gone very far for your job, have you?
No,
Huh?
I haven't. I moved from Morrisonville to Saranac, and I've been there for about 20 years now.
Just a full-time, 40-hour job for you, and more?
And more.
You don't accept phone calls at home, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
You do, huh? But don't give them your number here. You'll
No.
be getting all right.
I'm available whenever I'm around.
Okay.
If it's a real emergency and stuff, guys call me at home. And contractors call me at home, if there's an emergency. So.
Okay. This can be a one-word answer if you want now, all right? Is there much controversy between the non-union and the union carpenters? I mean, you don't have to expand on it if you don't want to. I don't want to get into a,
I don't think
controversy.
it's so much between the non-union carpenters and the union carpenters. I think it's more between the contractors.
Okay. All right.
And I'll
All
leave
right.
it at that.
That's fine. Fine. And you want more questions, you ask him personally. You can ask anybody who's in those trades. Ron, listen, we just got him right out of the surprise here, and I really appreciate you talking with us.
Yeah.
Ron Kent,
Thank you.
proud to be a union member. Well, obviously, it's another day in our interview at the Rec Center with Mike O'Brien. Good morning again, Mike.
Morning, Bob.
Things have happened since we last saw you. Tell us what has progressed since we were here when we saw the dirt being leveled and so forth.
Well, since then, they've put in all the insulation. They brought it up to the proper height with the sand and stuff. And then there's been two layers of insulation that have gone down.
And that's hard insulation, right?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah, I can.
We'll take a peek
I can
of
show
that.
you a
Okay.
piece after.
All right.
Under the bleachers. Then you had your plastic that has gone down. All your plastic that's covered all the insulation.
Right.
And then you've had all your re-rods.
Okay. Now, are those fastened at all, or just laying straight across?
No, they're all fastened. And every foot was tied. See?
Yep.
So there was a lot of work there. They tied that for a week or so. The
Right.
guys doing that. And then the chairs, they call them the chairs.
Yep, the little things here, yes.
Yeah, that the pipes sit in.
Right.
And I think how they've put in like 20 something pipes so far. There's only about 5 or 6 more to go. So almost 10 miles of pipe has gone back in.
And this is about an inch outside diameter pipe?
Yep.
About,
Inch.
right?
Yep.
An inch. And you got all the reinforcing rods that's going to help.
And then there's going to be another, the mesh, there's going to be reinforcing mesh, and that's going to go all over this starting tomorrow.
Oh, there's mesh on top.
There's mesh on top, too, that's
Here-
got to go over that.
Okay, here comes you can step on it. See, here comes another length of pipe, and we'll show you that both ends of these pipes are attached.
One end's
It's
attached
not
to the
looped,
headers.
right.
No, and they're attached like a U down there.
Right.
And then back to the headers.
Okay, we'll show you that.
And then there's a whole mesh that's got to come up right there. You can maybe see the
That
mesh
lays right on top of
the
it.
mesh is right
Okay,
there,
we'll
and
take
that's got to be tied to
The
every
mesh is
foot.
right there between the bleachers. It's a row like
And
you would
that's
have.
gotta be all layered over it too. And then they have to be very careful with their walking. That's why they're going to put all plywood and stuff over the piping and stuff too, because you got to be very careful now with all the pipes that's in
Right.
there. When they actually do the pour, they
Yes.
got to lay the plywood down and work.
Okay, they do. That's what they do. All right,
have
now.
to work it. They were here this morning. There's going to be, I think he said like 15 masons and 15 laborers when they pour that day. They're going to start at 6 in the morning, and it'll probably be like to 4 or 5 in the afternoon, the actual pour. And then they got to work it. And then depending on the weather, they said, they could be here all night. If it's,
Oh yeah, you can't. You've got to be there.
And they're hoping that it's not 100 degrees that day.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
It's like 250 yards of cement.
Wow.
Or
Now,
something like that, 25 trucks.
okay, it goes without saying that this is quote unquote perfectly level all over.
It can only be 3/16 of an inch from one end to another.
Different.
Difference. They'll
Yes,
have laser
yes,
levelers and,
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Right.
It's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah. Do they check any of this with any before they lay the cement?
The engineer has been up here and made sure.
As far as I mean, like even it's a new pipe, there could be a leak. Not too likely.
They're going to pressure test the
They
system.
do check
They're going
it,
to
all right.
pressure test the system, I think, later today. I think they're going to
All
do
right.
it.
And then they can tell if there's a loss in the pressure.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've already pressure tested like the header pipes and stuff where
Yep.
they've had that. But yeah, they got to and I think when they actually pour this, it has to be under. They have to keep a certain psi or pressure in it
Right.
when they're pouring this.
You got to remember that once you put it down, you don't dig it up very well. So if you have problems in this, I would assume they're more likely to be at either end rather than in the middle.
Well, no,
They could break, huh?
They could break. They're guaranteed. Hogan, I think it's the refrigeration is guaranteed for a year. The cement work is guaranteed for 2 years. But like the Crete, we checked the Crete out here 2-3 weeks ago, and they've had I think 2 leaks over 20 years.
Okay.
And the water, it'll show up on your cement.
Right about where it is.
Right about where it is, and
Okay.
then you jackhammer a little hole
Yeah.
and you fix it. I mean, the Cretes is
Yep.
So hopefully that for 20
Yeah.
years we don't have leaks. We went 17 years with the old system
Right.
before we had a leak,
Yep.
and that was all old pipe. So
Okay.
hopefully we don't.
All right. So the plan now, the next plan is to put the mesh down, and then some plywood where they can walk out there, and then they'll pressure test.
Yeah. I think they're going to pressure test today before the mesh even goes down.
Is that
and
right?
stuff. Yeah. Mike Hogan wants to make
Right.
sure everything.
So Hogan's refrigeration from Peru is doing all of this now.
All the piping, yeah.
And they also laid the chairs down
No.
that you call here?
No, Murnane's.
That was Murnane that did all of that. And we're looking here at the original cement floor over here, and that's insulation right there. That's it. I thought it was a 2x4, but that's insulation.
Insulation, and your inserts for your boards are going to go right into here too. So actually, the boards won't be sitting on the cement.
You mean the inserts will be in the cement?
In the
then
cement.
you drop your boards
And then
in.
yeah, they just slide right in, and they're supposed to come next week.
Okay.
That has to go in before the cement too. So they're waiting on that. That's another thing that's been held up. Crystal Flex
Okay.
is where the boards are coming from.
You're getting new boards?
All brand new
All
boards.
brand new boards.
Tempered glass, 6-foot tempered glass on the ends, 3 foot on the sides. They'll all go right to the players' bench
Oh,
where they
yeah.
never used
Yeah.
to.
Uh-huh. Sounds great, huh?
Yeah.
It's an exciting time for you, Mike, huh?
It is.
Huh?
To see it all.
This is all new to you. You have
Yeah,
no idea
never.
what's going to happen the next day.
No.
Except
and,
what they tell you.
I probably wouldn't want to be here in 25 years if this ever has to get dug up and stuff.
Well, you like to
because-
be here, but you
Oh.
somebody else in charge, huh?
With all the rebar and everything, I don't think it'd be too much fun taking this up.
Okay. They're about every,
4-inch on center.
but here, 3 feet between the chairs, give or take, 30 inches, you know?
Oh, yeah, it's probably like, 36 inches.
Okay, and the pipes are 4-inch on center.
4-inch on center, the pipes, where they used to be
Yep.
3.5-inch on center.
Yeah.
But they've done it.
And the cement will be, well, you can see here, about 4 inches to 5 inches.
It's going to be 5 inches of cement.
5 inches of cement.
Yeah.
All right. And then the interesting thing you said that the ice won't be as thick
Now,
as
we-
it had been
We
originally.
used to have anywhere from 2 to 2.5 inches, maybe to 4 inches. You know, it varies.
Of ice,
Yeah.
yep.
Now it should be only 1.5 inches max. They figured 10,000 gallons of water
Right.
to do the ring.
Uh-huh. Now, have you any idea how long it might take when you got ice to take the ice off and get ready for something else? long it
I
might
don't
take?
think it'll ever. I don't think as they talk right now, where we're not going to take the ice down in the winter to have an event. I think.
No, I understand, of course.
I would think only 3-4 days.
Okay.
Because all you have to do is the bond breaks from your cement. You come in with like a little farm thing, and you kind of scoop the ice up and you bring it out.
So it doesn't turn to water.
We don't want it to turn to water and go to the pit
Okay.
because there's going to be paint in it when you do your paint,
Yep.
and then that's the reason you go in. I guess you take it out. You supposedly you put it in a dumpster with some sand in it, let the ice melt into that, and all your paint stays into the sand and
Okay.
stuff. So
All right, let's move out to the end and see where you call that the head, or what you call that?
yeah, the pit.
The pit.
But
Let's
that's
go up
not
and see the
where
pit.
you reach.
Will that have a cement top, or will that be open, accessible?
No, it's going to be 2x8 with a 1/2-inch plywood over it.
Okay,
so
that-
that'll be like your walkways
Yep.
for your, and then there'll be matting, of course, and
Yeah.
stuff, but for your locker rooms and stuff.
Well, you're going to be very surprised what you see in there, all the work that has taken place in this pit.
Yes.
And there was, remember when we were here a few days ago, or 3 weeks ago, was it 5 weeks
5
ago?
weeks ago,
Originally,
yes,
they were putting all that insulation down and everything else there, and you'll see why now. Where that's the business end. At the other end, we'll take. It's just a very loop. They put looks like a U, and they put pipe clamps to hold it there, and the ice will be there over the clamps just as well as anything else.
Over the clamps, yeah.
Okay. Good. When we first came in this morning, my first thought, and I think I mentioned to Calvin, people have no idea when they're sitting here, or they come in, or even when they're playing, what's under them and all the work that went to make that ice, that 1 inch of ice possible. It's just amazing what,
A lot of work.
lots of work. And here you can see, as you look the full length of this, what are the holes up front? Is that where it says, is that where the sign goes?
It used to be. That's when it used to be the Ross's Point Recreation
Oh,
Center.
okay.
And then when they changed the name, it went to the Civic Center. So
Okay.
the holes that they drilled
Right.
over the years up there.
Yeah,
and
you've
stuff.
got to get some Band-Aids and inside here. Just cover that right inside. They flipped a lot of those. Look at them flip that pipe.
Right into the chair.
Yep, right into the channel where they want. All right, we're at this end, and you will see that the pipes come through the holes, through the big, looks like guillotine here,
2x12,
Yeah.
whatever.
or
The hole.
stocks.
Yeah.
And then the pipe, I guess, which one is a
The
feed?
bottom,
Which?
the bottom ones are your subfloor heating. They're actually underneath the insulation, buried
Okay.
in the sand.
Subfloor heating. Tell us about
This-
that again.
This is for your frost and stuff. If there's any problems with the frost, you have sensors out underneath the ice
Okay.
that'll tell you if the frost is moving up towards your slab, and then they'll run off the compressors. I guess they warm
Yep.
to keep it down so it doesn't interfere with your
Okay.
slab.
So the bottom one way down, the third one down, is that the
That's
one
the
you're talking?
subfloor heating.
Okay, and that is also one is a feed, one's a return, or is that all? Don't know
No,
what.
I think
They
no,
it's
it's all
probably
the
a
feed,
big
yeah.
loop. Okay,
yeah,
so that the one way down. Then
that's your subfloor heating
right.
ones. Yeah.
Then the second one is the feed.
yeah, these are your feed, and then your return.
Oh, the top here is the feed.
And then and your return for your brine for your system, which will be salt water. Used to be antifreeze. Now it's just salt and
Salt and water.
Salt and water. 21%, I think, is the thing that they have to make it to.
Okay.
And Hogan's refrigeration
Yep.
takes care of that too.
I was mentioning to the person here when we first came in, I'd like to have his pipe clamp concession.
Yeah.
For every pipe
2 clamps. For
that
every
you
pipe.
see, of course, one, I guess it comes back. So for every pipe you see, there are 2 clamps here and 2 at the other end.
Yeah. So they're using a lot of clamps.
There's a lot of clamps. And here we got the numbers 122, 122, 123,
Anytime
123.
by 2.
So you can double that.
Double
Now.
that.
That's the number of pipes.
So there actually is going to be it'd be 254. So there's going to be around 260 or 103.
Pipes, the full length. And the length of this, Mike,
It's 200 feet.
200 feet from one end to the other.
Well, the actual
More than
rink
that?
is 190 by 85.
Okay. And this is the business end. This great big feed here, all these pipes, and they're full of the salt solution.
Salt solution. Yeah.
Okay. So there's no gases in there at all. I
No,
don't think of
and
it.
it's going to be an ammonia system. You know, we used to have R22.
Okay.
Now it's Freon. Now our new compressors that we're going to ammonia, because supposedly in the future, I guess R22 Freon, they're eliminating it.
All right.
So, 4 or 5 years down the road, and we didn't,
Now there are the clamps. You can get probably had a couple of boxes of clamps like that. You see it at it's metal. They've all been fed into the pipe.
Yeah.
And they put 2 so that if one is letting it loose, the other will grab it. Then he can you see that little tiny wrench that he's using, and he tells me it has a 60-pound torque, so that when you get 60 pounds, it will no longer turn. There, it means that he's got the 60 pounds. So you know that you're not going to overdo it, and that you're tight enough. So that you ought to put this guy's name on the ice at one end. Do you ever write your name in the ice? Good for 1 year.
Just for 1 year would be nice.
It is. Now he's putting a number on, so you know exactly feed and return. Okay. And this will be done, you said, with 2 by 8s, right?
Yeah, there's going to be, I think it's 2 by 8s with a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood over it.
Okay.
So it'll be flush.
Right. And the rink will stop.
Well, the rink actually should be out in there.
Oh, the rink stops way up there? That's right.
Because you got your Zamboni doors. The
Okay.
radius should be out in there.
Oh,
somewhere
out
like
further.
the old one,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they just figured as far as the pouring, to make a nice square pour,
Uh-huh. All right.
And they poured a new wall, what you're standing on. That's new.
This is new under here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Before the pit.
Yeah.
And I think they weren't when you were here last, they were working on that wall.
That right, exactly. Right, that's what they were doing here. And you can see the pink insulation as you look on the other side. That's the side of the insulation we showed you, the top. And you can see it over here on the left, too. Lots of work, and everything has to be done in order and double-checked so that you don't forget something.
The engineers comes, he's here at least once a week and stuff, and we've had meetings like every 2 weeks. We have like with Hogan, Murnanes, and the engineer, and our trustees. And
We got 2 more pipes to lay. We better get down to the other end.
Yeah, okay, let's get down to the other end. Stand by. There. We're making the loop now. We're just about, there's only 2 left to go. It means 1 feed and return to go. That's the feed coming out, and the one that he's just laying out will be the return. Could you get a piece of that pipe and see the thickness and so forth? The pipe comes in a coil, and they cut it. Now here is the pipe. You can see it's much like the pipe you would use for your sump pump or anything like that, about the same thickness, but it's smaller and it's very rigid. It's a rigid pipe, and very, very rigid. Likelihood of leak of that we'd think would be remote. And now they have a stretcher here. You can see that they're pulling that. And the last chair there holds the U clamp, or the U that makes the bend, in other words. And they're tied here. Do you know what is he cutting, or he's not? He's cutting, right? Okay.
The bars off that,
right.
So that doesn't. Both cement slabs won't be hooked together.
Okay. So you're going to have to fill in this cement here later.
Yep.
Okay. This will be filled in here, of course. Afterwards, if they get the bend in. The last one has been hooked here. No, it hasn't. There's still one complete one to go. How long did it take you to learn how to flip that in those little chairs? Huh? Is that a special trait?
Yeah.
Huh? Special way to do that?
No, just pull it. That's it.
Just pull it and it goes right where it's supposed to. It's a very rigid pipe. Anything else you want to tell us out here, Mike? They got their pipe here. There aren't going to be too much left over, is there?
No, they had it pretty well measured.
When did you start putting the pipe in?
Last Wednesday.
Last
Today's
Wednesday.
Tuesday,
Today's
so
Tuesday, so you work. You don't work
working
Saturday
days.
and Sunday. Five working days.
to do it.
Okay. Now you mentioned there's a sensor there. That's the other sensor over there.
Sensors over there.
There's another sensor way over that senses the subfloor heating. It's right over about. You see it, Cal? Just to your left. Oh, you got it there. And that's what senses to whether you need to turn the heat on or the heat is circulated, so that you won't have the frost moving the cement, which is what cracks cement.
Yeah.
Or driveways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say that again.
Turn the heat on or the cold on?
You turn the heat on, don't you?
Turn the heat on.
You turn the heat on,
Yeah.
and then you turn the coal on above it.
Hopefully, with the insulation, they say it doesn't run very much because it's so well insulated and stuff.
Right.
So.
Okay, so then that's right. All that heating is under the insulation, so it doesn't come up through.
It's actually in the sand.
Okay. All right. Of course, they've got that good electric rate here too, at least for a few more years.
Something like 3 cents a kilowatt.
3 cents a kilowatt. Want me to tell you about my 13 cents that I pay? 3 cents a kilowatt here in Rouse's Point because of good thinking by the fathers many years ago. It was there for anybody, I guess, that wanted it, right?
Yeah.
But
Hopefully that'll stay like that,
Okay. Mike, not only are your inside very well kept, but you're outside. You do a lot of work outside keeping this rec area, the Civic Center.
Yeah, we mow about 25 acres a week. and this summer, you can mow it every 3 days.
I was going to say, you don't just do it once a week, do you?
Not anymore. Not this summer, anyway.
Yeah,
Other summers, it used to be just a week, but now it's like you mow on Monday, you got to be mowing again on Thursday. Yeah.
How many people mow at one time?
Just 2 of us.
Two of you.
We only have 2 tractors.
It
So.
keeps you going.
Yeah. It's usually 2 mowing, 1 weed whacking.
Right.
And there's a lot of weed whacking.
Yeah, well, I bet there is. Yes, this year, if you waited too late in the afternoon, you get some rain before, not much longer after 5 o'clock.
We haven't had too much of a summer.
Right. Okay, they're now setting that there till you see the 4 clamps.
There's one pipe that goes right around the whole rink. The last pipe goes the whole.
Oh, they'll put one more afterward?
Yeah, right? I think there's one that goes the whole length.
One goes the whole length
Circles
around.
the whole-
Okay. Well, they're going to have to buy some more pipe. It looks like
We
it.
got 1 roll left,
You got 1 roll left.
long enough to do the whole perimeter.
What do you do when you're 4 inches short on it?
You can throw it out.
Right, you cannot split. You don't put any clamps there, right?
No splice.
No splices.
They haven't come up with a good pipe stretch.
It cuts very easy. Make sure you got enough ice because that cement's going to be on top of it. And this is the Hogan right here now, right? This is the Hogan refrigeration and insulation.
Yeah.
Peru, New York. There aren't enough rinks around here to keep them in busy full time.
We do a lot of work in apple plants, industrial refrigeration, cheese
Apple
plants.
plant, yes, the put the apples to sleep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do work in all the cheese plants up in Lowville, North Lawrence, Macadam, and over in Chateauguay. One in Vermont.
Uh-huh.
2 storages in Vermont.
So you're in the right place when you're in Peru, huh?
Sometimes I wonder.
Well, I hate to bother when they're working. They're working on the very last one. Then this is where they cut it to fit.
Okay.
You nearly need a two-way radio in here with the link to the building.
Yeah.
He's supposed to wave, but he's down in the trench.
Probably don't hear you. Acoustic. This isn't built for acoustic. I tell you, we missed it this year with the St. Patrick's Choir and the
I know,
barber shop,
they had
the Straw Hatter.
They had it over the fire
Yes,
station.
yeah.
Well, next year, hopefully.
They've been here for a number of years, you know, and
Yeah, hopefully next year everything will
most likely will.
be back here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm supposed to, they want me to take over running the 4th of July, the whole thing next year too.
And I hate to get your committal on TV for that. Then you have to do it.
Well,
That's tough. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
You mean in George's place?
Yeah, he's thinking about giving it up. The last
George's
time.
been there a long, long time, Mike. You
Yeah,
know, that's a
so-
big job.
Yeah,
You know, and right up to the very end, you know, he's still sweating, you know,
Yeah.
putting people in line, make sure the Grand Marshal gets in the front of the parade and starting on time. I told him he didn't always start on time. He was not too happy with me.
No.
Started close to on time this year.
yeah.
I
It
was
a good-
driving
it was
a car.
Good, it was a good
good,
parade.
very good parade.
Fireworks were excellent.
I saw it on TV. Calvin had it on, and that's the first I saw. I only saw the portion where I was. I thought there were a lot of people. They said maybe only half of what's normal.
It didn't seem like his biggest crowd
Is that right?
in the village itself. Like, you know, usually you're half an hour, 45 minutes with cars getting out of the village, but it didn't seem that packed this year. I know where I live on Washington Avenue by the Presbyterian Church. Usually that street is full right to Delaware, and it wasn't this year. It only went up like halfway. But
It was an excellent parade. Went very well, I thought, and no rain. Calvin didn't get rained on this year, neither did anybody else. This is the one they look for. This pipe right there, it's called the last one. And then they do the perimeter completely
perimeter
around.
with one pipe, yeah.
The size of that, I'm looking here, that's got to be a 1/2 inch or more, 5/8.
The rod.
The rod that comes out that they're going to lay the last one on, I guess.
Yeah. So they're going to lay the last one, I think, right inside this one right here, right?
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay, the hook's right in there.
Yeah,
That one. That one
yeah.
hooks in
Yeah.
under this.
Yep.
You see that little hook right there? That's where they're putting the last one. It stays right there. I guess there must be a reason they need that last one because you can't get quite close enough because of the
What
turnaround.
they're trying to do is the boards lay out here on the perimeter for
Right.
the glass.
Right.
And I think they want to freeze underneath there to keep everything uniform in terms of temperature, so it's not pushing and pulling, moving.
Okay.
So we need one right under the board.
Okay. And who am I talking to?
Dan Bonner.
You're Dan Bonner. Bonner. Now listen, I've seen some Bonner names in the sports pages over the years in Peru, New York, haven't I?
Yeah, I have 5 brothers.
Yes. Well, weren't you one of those? Between the Duprees and a few of the other couple names up there in Peru. Now, if you have trouble with these, is it ever at the clamps more than anywhere else?
No, I don't think
You don't think so? Huh?
Torque down with that wrench.
You torque. I saw that they use it at the other end. Now you're really stretching that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh. Of course, the pipe's not stretching. It's strictly getting it.
Getting all the
Is
hills
that-
out of it.
Is that got a torque to it too, or you can tell by looking?
Yeah, it's called the Bonner torque.
Oh, that's the Bonner torque? The BT, it's called. How long you been with the Hogan refrigeration?
15 years.
15. And how long has they been in business?
27.
27? Uh-huh.
I married the daughter.
Aha.
He's the vice president, right?
Oh,
Danny's the president.
great way to get a job, isn't it, huh? A great way, huh? It's good. Yeah, it is. I'll tell you. I know Mike. Mike on the other side, I didn't recognize him. He married my cousin's daughter, Julie. And my name is Bob Venn, by the way.
Glad to meet
Nice
you,
seeing
Bob.
you. And your name?
Dave Waldron.
Dave Waldron, is that a Peru name too? Let me get you here.
That's from downstate.
Downstate. How'd they get you up here?
Oh, I moved up here in '73.
Okay. But the only trouble with this job is it's always hot when you do it, isn't it? Or in the middle of the winter too. I guess you could have your problems.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they tell me that they heat small buildings with the heat generated from the compressors. Why can't they send some of that heat from these big compressors out here into the building?
Actually, we are utilizing some of the heat to keep the permafrost from driving down.
Underneath, okay.
That's the heat off the refrigeration.
Okay.
The drawback to utilizing the heat is when you want the most heat, the equipment produces the least amount. It's the coldest out, so we need very little refrigeration.
Okay.
So there's very little heat produced.
Okay. Now, I did see, well, we'll get back to that. We'll take a very short break here, and we'll be right back. We hate to take the break right now, but we'll take a very short break. You know, sometimes you have to go into a job like this and do a TV story to meet your relatives again. We don't see each other too often, Mike. Likewise, Mike married my cousin's daughter, Julie Venn. How many? 5 years ago?
Yep.
Oh, God.
It'll be 6 years this October.
And Julie was, and still is, what is it? She's
Elementary guidance.
elementary guidance. That's what it is. Elementary guidance at the Morse building.
More Champlain, Rouse's
Morse.
Point.
All
shares
right.
A little bit of
And
each.
my daughter Sue came home and said, "Dad, do you any idea whether we're related to a Julie Venn?" I said, "I don't know any Julie Venn." I said, "Who's her dad?" And she said, "Victor or Junior." I said, "Oh, for sure. He's my first cousin." So that's how. And as a result, they were getting married just after. And when I did a wedding with these people then, a beautiful wedding, and I met Mike. And as a result, we had a family reunion shortly after and saw people we hadn't seen for a while.
His last name yet?
Well, that's right. Tell us your name.
Mike Hogan.
I never asked that. Mike Hogan, Peru, New York, and they're in charge of this job. It's their primary contractor. How'd you get in the refrigeration business?
Oh, my father worked for a company out of Albany, Mullally Brothers, that did ammonia refrigeration. In '67 or '68, we moved up here. So he'd been in the business like 10 years, and then a lot of his accounts were the North Country accounts at the apple starches in Peru, and they made him an offer to move up here, and he decided to. And he opened up his business in 1968, and we've been growing every year, and we're doing pretty well.
How many in the family? Your family?
I have 2 kids, and my wife so there's 4.
Okay, and brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters who, one of them works in the office, and the other one's thinking about it. So
And one of them has got a husband that knows what he's doing here
right,
too, huh?
that's Dan.
Dan Bonner.
Yeah, Dan
We're
Bonner.
talking to me,
Sure.
one of your sisters. Was he in the wedding too? He looked familiar.
Yeah, he's
that's
my
where I.
best man.
He was your best man.
Yeah.
God, he still is too.
Well, I don't know.
All right. So, how long have you been in the business?
15 years since I got out of college.
Okay.
This is my 15th year.
Full time.
Yeah.
Well, I thought for some reason that you were a teacher at Saranac because
No,
you've got
just a wrestling
associate
coach.
wrestling coach there. That's
Sure.
some good teams.
Yeah.
And you were quite a wrestler yourself.
Well, I
Good.
was all right at one point.
And in college too.
Yeah, I wrestled at Hofstra University down Long Island.
Helped pay for some of your college,
Yeah,
did
sure
it?
did. Yeah.
That's nice, huh?
And that's what we try to do now with the wrestlers is hopefully attract some attention through schools.
Okay. Ever hear of Northern Adirondack?
Oh, yeah, a little
Huh?
bit.
You've heard of them too,
Yeah,
huh?
a little bit, but I don't know if they're any good. But I've heard about
They've
them.
had some good matches
Oh,
over the past
they've
several
had some
years.
great matches. They have great teams there.
Yes, and of course you learned up at Peru. Of course, Peru was
Yep.
for a year.
That's right.
Okay, now, how do you get a contract like this?
Well, it goes out to bid, and there was, I think there were 6 guys that bid on it. Luck Brothers bid on it, and we bid on it, and the company out of Canada bid on it, and a guy out of Malone bid on it, and we just ended up with the low bid.
Uh-huh.
And we got involved, and we've been working with ice rinks for quite a while, and it just was a perfect job for us being 40 miles away. Usually this time of year we're down in Poughkeepsie or over in Massachusetts or Vermont, and we just got a nice opportunity to have a local job like this.
Mike, it sounds like when you're talking Luck Brothers that you don't have to be a refrigeration contractor to get this job.
That's right. What a company like Luck Brothers would do would be
Or you have
hire
to.
another refrigeration company
Okay.
to work with them.
Right.
And they might have went with one of the guys out of Albany, or there's a company in
Okay.
Buffalo, Mullenberg and Betts. I think a couple of the guys had prices from Mullenberg and Betts
Okay.
from Buffalo.
So, you aren't always a primary.
No,
Of the
no, this
refrigeration,
is,
right?
if there was more building work, I think Murnay's would have been the primary, but it's mainly a refrigeration job. So what they did was they bid the floor from us, and gave us a price on the floor, and the price was good, and we got the job, so they're working with us on this.
Would you say that this is a big job as far as your jobs are concerned?
Yeah,
big one?
this is pretty good size job. So
Okay.
we have 10 guys, so this is pretty good size
Okay.
job.
The first time you came in, was it when you started putting this down, or were you?
No, we've been here for about 3 weeks.
Pardon? Oh, traffic coming by. He carries stuff too, huh?
Well, you know,
Huh?
usually just his lunch at the.
Yeah. Brother-in-law, you can talk like that.
Yeah. Now, we've been here for about 3 weeks, and the first time we came in was when the sand base was down, and then we put our heat pipes in the sand,
Uh-huh.
and then insulation, and then we got involved in the chair rails, and
Okay.
now we're down to the pipe, and we'll be ready to pour in about a week of concrete.
All right, we're going to try to get back for the pour. Now, you'll be involved with the pour, or will that be?
What we'll be involved in is we'll put 60 pounds of pressure on this, water pressure on the system, and then why the masons are here, I think they expect about 25 guys here, and they'll have to be walking out on it. We'll have wire mesh on top of this
Right.
pipe, and they'll be walking on it, and we'll just be here in case something happened where they sprung a leak, and we can fix it right away.
Have you had a man here all the time, even when they were doing their part of it, Murnane?
Well, at first, when Renee was just here, we had a guy that would stop by every day, but he wasn't
Okay,
here all day.
okay.
They have a very good crew, and they didn't
All right.
really need us.
Somewhere along the line, well, first of all, this has been down for 20 years, and it was a used. Is that a good average?
Actually, I think they made out pretty well with it.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, and
did.
just sand, and it
Yep.
was a used system when they bought it, so I think they did all right with it.
Right. When they would have leaks here, could they do that themselves, or would they call up a?
No, they were taking care of that
They could
themselves.
take care-
Yeah, they would go ahead and patch the leaks. I think they used like a coupling that, a male coupling on both ends, and just slid it inside the pipe, and then put the stainless steel
Okay.
clamps on it. So they were fixing it themselves.
We were talking with Mike earlier, and he mentioned something about a year guarantee and a 2-year guarantee. Is that from you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guarantee that, huh?
We'll be involved in the guarantee.
Okay. A year on the pipes and stuff, and 2 on the.
I'm not sure what it was. I
No.
think it was only 30 days, Mike. No. No.
Well,
Yeah.
Mike just passed out. We're not going to see him again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was on the machines. Compressors are probably 5 years, I think, or maybe they're 2 years. I'm not sure.
So your dad's still active in the company?
Yeah, he sure is.
Sure is. You know, when I look at things here, and as I get older, we're turning this whole country and everything into young guys that doing
Yeah.
all these jobs. You're too young to be in charge of a job like
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
Huh? Anyone ever tell you that? No?
Yeah,
You say,
not too
don't
much,
goes
a little
against
bit,
you,
yeah.
it goes along. All right, let's go down. Well, somewhere along the line, before we take a break, it was decided that the compressors need replacing.
Yeah.
Was that your suggestion?
Well, I think they had it in the back of their mind, but we did suggest it. They got their money's worth out of their compressors, and we have the compressors they're buying now are Realtor machines, and they're more an industrial type machine. These are more like a commercial machine, and they're going to have a lot better machine. They kind of went from a Volkswagen to a Cadillac in the machines.
What's the difference between a commercial and an
Just a
industrial
heavier
machine?
duty. It's more of a heavy duty type instead of, they have like a roller type bearing, and it's just set up for a little more wear and tear, and instead of a 20-year deal, they hope to get a 40-year
Okay.
compressor.
Hope.
Well,
Rather than that 30-day guarantee you just told them
Right,
about. Is that
that's
right? It's a hope. Mike Hogan, Jay Hogan, is it Jay?
Yeah.
Jay Hogan Refrigeration, Peru, New York. It's a big company. They've been in business since 1968. We'll be right back. We're going to go down and see the refrigeration, and he can probably explain to us what's going to happen in that big pit where apparently that's the headquarters right there.
it is. Yeah, sure is. If there's, that's kind of the main part of the system right now.
I mentioned when you come to a hockey game or you come to one of the ice shows, you have no idea what's under that ice and all the work involved and the hours that people put in. And even behind that is the equipment you see here. We'll ask Mike O'Brien to tell us about what's happening right now, Mike. What did happen here?
As far as like this is the old equipment and stuff, and
Right.
this is the 25-year-old stuff that we're getting rid of.
Okay, what did you have in here before? Was it a gas or is it a liquid?
They use a carrier machines and Freon 22, and then they were chilling their brine solution, and then these pumps right here sent that out into the rink and across through the floor of the.
Is it circulating all the time?
Right. Yeah, circulate.
Okay.
See, you kind of contain their Freon, and now they're going to have ammonia, so it'll all be contained in this room. It won't be out in the ring. The ammonia will be contained out here. All we do is chill down the brine solution and then pump that out to the ice rink where the skaters
And
are.
there's no Freon going that can be
No,
leaked
no, it
that
all
way.
happens
All
right
right.
here. There's
Well,
not going to be any.
I think we'd be very remiss if we're not talking before this equipment gets removed to the person who helped to install this equipment that knew all about refrigeration and saved you thousands of money.
Roger Veely.
Roger Veely. We mentioned about him when we talked about the rec center, civic center months ago. He put this together here.
He was a refrigeration man that worked for Wyeth Arist. And yeah, he come in, he did it all himself, like as a consultant. They paid him, a minimum fee.
I know.
It was like his baby. He lived across the street right here. He was over here every day and just.
Came to Massachusetts when they bought the equipment, make sure it was taken apart and marked right so we could put it back together. Roger Veely, he's no longer with us, but we certainly, there's a plaque out front in his honor, and well, it should be. There's still relatives in the area, and Roger did an awful lot. And this will be one of the last things. There'll be nothing left that was brought here from Massachusetts.
No, nothing.
Okay.
The only thing to keep in are these two pumps behind you. The only thing that's staying. Everything else is
Two
going to
circulators.
go, and we're going to try to sell it. Find a customer that
Sell
we can
this equipment?
Sell this equipment to somebody.
Right. Well, who would be in the market for
I
that?
don't know if it'd be a salvage type of yard, or another customer might strip and take parts of it. I'm not really sure yet. We'll see how that works.
Was that state-of-the-art equipment way
Yeah,
back?
it's time. That was pretty nice.
But things have changed a lot.
Yeah, things have changed.
How do you keep up with the changes? You
Well,
go to school?
we're involved in this with Vilter. We're distributors from Vilter, and my brother-in-law Dan has been out to their school a couple of times. It's in Milwaukee, and they have a new factory out there. Matter of fact, he just went out in April. And we of course read the flyers, and we go to the trade shows. There's one in Atlanta we were at in March. Keep up that way.
All right, let me give you a 2-minute dissertation of how my refrigerator works at home. We all have a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Why does my refrigerator cool?
Well, it's the same thing we're doing right here, just in a mini version. How can I explain it to you? All refrigeration systems are generally the same, but we're on a giant scale right here, where refrigeration at home is a smaller version.
But tell me about the smaller version. What happened?
Well, the compressor is pumping out a discharge gas, and the liquid comes out of it, and it goes into the expansion. Well, we use expansion valve in this system. A household might be a little bit different, and then through an evaporator, and it's just the changing of the gas, starting from a hot vapor, and then going to a cool vapor, and then returning as a liquid. It's just the gas is changed as it goes through different metering devices throughout your system.
Okay. Does the J. Hogan Refrigeration do home refrigeration at all?
No.
You don't have a unit that does that at all?
No, we don't.
Ever do that?
No, we've
Never done that at all,
involved
so
in
it's been commercial. All right, so now the plan here will be to remove both of these units?
it. Right.
And
Yeah,
are the doors big enough? How do you get them
No,
out?
We're gonna take it out that
We're
back
gonna take
wall.
it. That's our job. We're
You gotta
gonna take
open
it
the wall, huh?
Yeah, we started tearing it down this morning.
Yep. And they'll both go out.
They'll both go out. This
And they'll
tank
be-
will go out. This tank's done. We're getting a new tank.
That's where the solution was kept?
No, this is for your water cooling.
Oh,
for your
okay.
power fans and stuff.
Right.
We had a tank over here. That's gone. That's where our antifreeze was.
Right. Will there be two machines come back? Two
Yeah, we're
compressors?
gonna have two compressors coming back. We're gonna mount them both over here, about a foot or 15 inches up off the ground, and they'll be mounted right here.
Right.
And then there'll be another vessel right over.
Okay. Let me ask you this now. This is very careful on this one. You only need one compressor to make that ice.
Well, we have two compressors to make the ice, but then one as the system's running.
I think. Okay.
Right.
And the other one's a backup, of course, if you could keep the ice.
Right.
But
Once it's cold out and the ice is down, one compressor will take care of it. But while you're making ice, we'll need two, and depending on the time of year, too, and the conditions outside.
In the spring, we'll probably have to run two.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
once we get
All right.
towards the end of March.
What kind of not efficiency? If this can make the ice in 20 hours, will the other one make it quicker?
Yeah, it'll be beefed up a little bit.
Okay.
I can't tell you the exact.
No,
number,
no,
but it's a little bit. It's a heavier duty
Okay.
system, and
This has been pretty trouble-free, hasn't it, here?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Good equipment. You know, when you think about
I mean,
this,
we had to do certain, like last year we had the caps made down here just to have the 4 caps made.
right?
For the thing cost us $1,400 to have them made.
and the price of Freon now is skyrocketed.
Right.
So
You know,
that's why we're changing to a
equipment is made to run and run and run. When they had that air crash the other day, I was thinking, it had just come from Greece in the morning, It's 3.5 hours, and they're turning around, sending it back to Europe.
Yeah.
It hardly ever
That
sits.
was a quick turnaround for
It
an
sure is.
international
It
flight,
sure is.
seems to me.
That equipment is being used. All right. How many men do you have with J. Hogan Refrigeration in the company?
We have 10 mechanics.
10 mechanics.
Well, actually, a guy or two in the office, and then we have 10 men over there.
You have 2 jobs going at once sometimes?
Yeah, we have a job in Poughkeepsie going right now at an Apple store. It's that burnt down last November, December, and we're working there also. And we also have a service department that runs around in our area and does service.
Okay.
We'll bid jobs that are out of the area, New York, New England. Mostly Apple orchards.
This industrial machines that you're going to bring, are they in various sizes and you can get,
Oh, you can get all different sizes.
Okay. Would you say you're going to start with the smaller one, middle?
No, I think
The
we're
75,
yeah, we're kind of in the middle road. We have
Middle
I think
road,
we have
right.
275s coming
Okay,
in.
75 wouldn't mean anything to me, but in the middle, about the middle
75.
thing. Okay, we'll take a short break. You're watching Hometown Cable. Our program is called What's Going On Here. We've been here, it seems like about a little over a month on and off, to see the new construction, the revamping of the Civic Center. Very proud to be complete involved here in this right now. Mike is the, give me your title again.
Civic Center Manager.
There's a better title. Civic Center Manager Mike O'Brien and Mike Hogan from the Hogan Refrigeration in Peru, New York. They're making it happen. We'll be right back.